What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are going to do a camera comparison between the new iPhone 17 Pro and the S25 Ultra. Now, I'm going to be honest. Over the years, I've personally felt that each one of these phones is good at certain things. The Ultra has been the super zoom king that always seems to wow people when they're creeping on something from a distance. The iPhone, I think, has always been better at video and capturing a less processed, more true-to-life looking image. Samsung likes to amplify the colors and detail to some extent, and I always felt that I could sort of tell which phone took which shot based on those characteristics. But this year, these two phones seem to take very different looking pictures and videos, so much so that it might actually be a deciding factor if you're maybe considering one of these two phones this year. So I'm going to go through about 50 different pictures and videos here to hopefully give you an idea of what these phones are capable of, some of their main differences, because that's always a factor too, and you can let me know which phone takes a better shot, or at least which one you prefer. It's always nice to get out and snap some pictures with these new phones, especially this time of year. I mean, I'm actually out of the office for once and enjoying the outdoors. I still have a hard time totally disconnecting though, as you can plainly see. I mean, look at that. That's my Jackery 1000 power station keeping these phones juiced up while I'm out, and the sponsor of this video. I've been using this for a few months now, and it's honestly been one of the most useful pieces of tech I own. What I really like about the Jackery 1000 is that it balances serious power with real portability. It's 18% smaller and 30% lighter than the previous version, and the built-in handle makes it easy to throw in my car or carry around with me. But even with the smaller size, you're still getting a 1070 watt-hour capacity, 1500 watts of sustained output, and 3000 watts of surge power. That's enough to keep your phones, tablets, and laptops charged up for days, and even run small appliances. For me, that means I can take it camping, to the park, or even just on a family picnic, and we'll have all the power we need for lights, music, cooking gear, and of course, keeping everyone's devices charged. But it's just as useful at home too. I've used it as an oversized power bank to plug in all my gear without hunting for outlets, and it's also a reliable backup if the power ever goes out. It'll run my whole desk setup, or keep the essentials going in an emergency, and recharging the Jackery is simple. You can plug it in and go from 0 to a full 100% in around 90 minutes with fast charging, or set it up with solar panels and top it off in under 4 hours when you're outdoors. Plus, the long-lasting batteries inside are rated for 10 years of daily use and a 5-year warranty. That's something you can count on for the long run. All of Jackery's power products are on sale for Amazon Prime Big Deals Day. On October 7th and 8th, you can save up to 65% off. They're essentially at their lowest prices of 2025, and I would recommend opting for one of their dual product bundles. You could get a carrying case or a solar panel. If you've been thinking about buying anything from Jackery, now is the time to do it. The Jackery 1000 especially is perfect for essential home backup. It can power multiple rooms at once, so your family stays worry-free no matter where you are. I'll leave links to Jackery's Big Deals Day sales page in the video description below. Okay, so let's start out with a couple of regular old pictures of my big ugly head. Now, right away, I think you'll notice the things I referenced at the start of this video. The S25 Ultra by default almost over-enhances the color, the saturation, and in doing so, while the pictures appear more vibrant, it also brings about a lot more of the darker elements. My shirt is blacker and less gray. My hair on my head and on my face is darker. It almost looks fuller in a way, especially my beard. My skin tone is more orangey and less pale. The trees and sky are a much more vibrant shade. The iPhone is arguably more accurate as far as what the colors actually look like in real life, but I can definitely see how someone might like the S25 Ultra just on the basis of the image looking more vibrant. It also looks to me like I'm able to pull more detail from the S25 Ultra's images. If you look at the strands of hair or the Ray-Ban logo on my sunglasses, for example, it all looks quite a bit sharper from the S25 Ultra. Now, each phone has a few different focal lengths for portrait shots, so I'll show you a couple of examples here. At the same 1x portrait zoom, I'm surprised at how different these pictures actually look. The iPhone gives you way more background blur by default, and I feel like I'm way more of the subject of this photo. The Ultra gives some amount of separation between me and the background, but it's far less extreme. Again, these are the default blur settings, but you can always adjust the blur during or after shooting. And that difference in the default blur level is pretty consistent no matter which zoom you choose for your portrait pictures. Again, the color or saturation level is cranked up way higher on the S25 Ultra, so everything looks both darker and more vibrant. And I would also say that both phones give me the same look, What I mean by that is the focal lengths of the portrait shots don't differ in such a way that my face or my head is an altered shape or an altered view. Something interesting here with the selfie cameras is that for whatever reason, either the Ultra got less colorful, or maybe the iPhone's new selfie camera captures a bit more colorful of a look, but the difference is less extreme. These photos look more similar than the regular shots from the rear lenses, and I'll also just mention that the iPhone's new center stage selfie mode is kind of cool. You can get an extra wide landscape selfie shot without rotating the phone, which is not something offered on the Ultra yet. Generally speaking, it seems like no matter what you're taking a picture of, at least in good lighting, these two phones have consistent differences. It's less obvious if you're focusing on a single subject, but some of these broad landscape pictures here, you can really see how different the color is and how much that tends to change the overall image. The thing is, you can always adjust saturation or the color profiles of your images after the fact. Many of us do that anyway, but it's interesting to see what each phone has set as its default image profile. Samsung customers seem to like color, while iPhone owners are stuck with a less eye-catching but maybe more accurate-looking image. I personally prefer accuracy. If I can try to trick people into thinking something is more vibrant and beautiful than it really is, I can do that after the fact. But I know over the last 2 or 3 years, the iPhone seems to just take a pretty dull-looking shot, and I'm not sure if there was a specific reasoning behind that. On the flip side, something I'll say about the low light and nighttime shots, the S25 Ultra seems to really want to brighten things up. So much so that at times, it almost doesn't look like nighttime at all. And while that's good for getting a picture of things that might otherwise get lost in the shadows, sometimes these low light shots do look a bit over-processed, almost too bright. This, I think, is even more of a personal preference. I mean, on the one hand, there's no doubt whatsoever that you can just see more things in low light on the Ultra. But the iPhone, to me, has more of a nighttime look, if you want to call it that. It's difficult to fully articulate, but the Ultra's images almost look like they have a spotlight on them, while the iPhone, even though it's very obviously much darker, at least look more even and more nighttimey. It sounds dumb to say, but that's just kind of how it looks to me. The zoom, I think, is something everyone is curious about this year, so let's talk about it. The S25 Ultra has a 50 megapixel periscope zoom lens with up to 5 times optical zoom capabilities and up to 100 times digital. The iPhone 17 Pro this year sees a big upgrade to its zoom lens for the first time in a while. It has a 48 megapixel periscope lens with 4 times optical capabilities and up to 40 times digital. Now, strictly from a capability standpoint, obviously the Ultra can zoom in farther, but side by side, the difference between 40x and 100x doesn't look as drastic as it maybe sounds. Additionally, the Ultra loses a ton of quality and detail at the max zoom, and it's relying on AI, additional processing, and a ton of stabilization to keep things centered on screen, and when you actually snap a picture after the fact too. I think the iPhone's max zoom is more practical, it's less impressive, I guess, but I personally don't really zoom in 100x on the Ultra all that often anyway, and I don't think that most people do that either, at least beyond showing off from their friends and family. Within the 2 to 10x range, things look pretty similar. Even through the 20 to 30 times digital zooms, the phones don't look drastically different, aside from, once again, just their overall color profiles. The main consideration here with the zoom is just clarity, sharpness of whatever it is you're zoomed in on, and I feel like each image is pretty comparable in that regard. With video, I'm going to be honest here and say that I've personally always preferred the iPhone, for years at this point, and there's 2 reasons for this. One, video on Samsung smartphones always look overprocessed to me, in the same way that the images do. They're saturated, it leads to things looking dark and unnatural, and the other factor is smoothness or stabilization. Samsung's videos still, to me, look kind of jittery. Jittery with motion, jittery with focus tracking. It's frustrating because I think with some focus on video, the Ultra would be the best all-around camera as far as just sheer capabilities, but I would still prefer to not film any videos with the Ultra and stick strictly to the iPhone. Like I said a few times already, these camera comparisons are a lot more subjective than they are objective, so let me know which phone you prefer in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys later.